everybody, it's Stephen and Walter again this week for another episode of So Chatty for August the 22nd, 2025. This week we're going to do, like it says in the title, I am going to show you a video of me playing with Lucey. Lucey, for those of you that might be new, don't get all your knickers in a knot thinking that we're talking about some horribly filthy thing. No, Lucey is the name of my long arm. No, I did not name her. She came with the name because APQS, which is what Lucey is, name all their machines. And hers happens to be Lucey. It's even right on the side of her. But before we get to that, I'll show you what I've been up to in the last little while. And this is related to Lucey. And it's this creation. This is, well, it started out, they call it a Halloween mini quilt. It is an in the hoop embroidery design for the one block, for the block that has the pumpkin on the star. That is a block, and that's what I had the file for, and that is what my embroidery machine did, all of that. It is in the hoop applique for the most part, but there is some actual just thread embroidering too. But even the blocks or the units are all done in the hoop. You do have to sew it together like you would sew a conventional block together, but the blocks are also a little weird in size. Although you could duplicate this if you just want to do applique.
So the pumpkin in the middle is an applique, right?
Yeah.
But what about the star part itself? Do you do that in the hoop too?
Did that in the hoop too. So what you do in the hoop is you make the flying geese in the hoop.
Yeah.
And so it lays down where you put your fabric. And it's the flip and sew method in their version of it. But you trim it as you go, just as you would with an applique. And then so you've made 4 flying geese units, and then it's just a square that you just cut out as you normally would because there's any stitching on that.
Yeah.
But what isn't showing up, if you look at the green ones, you can see it better. What it also does is it quilts them.
Oh, okay.
So the spider web going around and the little in the corners, you can see the little,
okay.
They show up better on the green than they do on the purple in this picture. That's all done in the hoop. So one of those is what the pattern is. Now, they called it a mini quilt because you could put a couple of tabs on it and just hang it up just as it is without anything else. But I thought, no, I wanted to make it into something a little bigger. I wouldn't use it as a quilt because the embroidery and all the stitches that go into this make it really stiff. It's not a comfy, cozy quilt. It's more of a large wall hanging. Or what I'm going to do with it is probably use it as part of my Halloween October decor, probably drape it in a very stylish way across the edge of a couch or chair or something like that. Now, what is mine that it doesn't do, I made the 4 blocks with the pumpkins in them in the hoop. Then I added the sashing myself and the center square, and I added the borders to it as well. That was all my own doing. Now, they had a way of finishing it where they used mitered border, excuse me, but I didn't bother with that. I find that, I think this is this a Sweet Pea design? Yeah, this one, no, it might have been the designs by Juju.
You really should get your design
I
straightened
know,
around.
and I haven't got it. I buy so many from so many different ones, I get them all screwed up.
Write it down.
Well, I could look at the pattern too, but I filed it.
Oh.
It's in my file of done projects, and I'd have to go all the way over there and look for it, and so I'm not. I'm pretty sure it's the designs by Juju. And sometimes the way they finish things is kind of weird in their instructions, so I didn't bother. I didn't really care if I had mitered borders, but what I did do was, you see that directional fabric of the smiling pumpkin, so I made sure that I put those in the right direction. I didn't want them like the pumpkins upside down or one side looking out and in, all that kind of stuff. So I made sure of that, but I needed to separate them from the blocks a little bit. And the sashing. So what I did was I just used a 1.5 inch strip of the orangey mottled orange fabric. It almost has the look of a faux flange kind of a thing on it, just to separate it out from the other. And yeah, and I like that fabric that I used with the little smiling pumpkins. I hadn't used that really much for anything before. And then I went into my stash to see what I had that I could use as backing fabric for this. And I found this one. You can see it in the binding, has little swirls. It's kind of a dark grayish kind of thing. Not strictly Halloweenish, but it works. And I didn't really want to go out and buy more Halloween fabric to back this because I would have probably had to have pieced it. It's not a huge quilt. It's about 50 by 50. But, you know, you can't find wide back usually in Halloween. So at least I haven't seen any. And yeah, I just used what I had. And it works fine with that. But here was the trick with this quilt. I told you there's built-in quilting in those blocks. That's done by the embroidery machine. There is batting underneath each of those squares. And you put that in the hoop as well. But then when I added the sashing and I added the borders, there isn't any batting in those and there wasn't any quilting. Now I could have left it, but I have found in the past if I have done that, it's limp. The borders are limp. They just, because the rest of the quilt is so stiff. So I thought, what the heck? Well, first of all, I thought, okay, I can cut strips of batting that are slightly more narrow than the border pieces and everything. And then I could go on my domestic machine and do walking foot quilting, straight line or something like that. Then I could do sort of quilt as you go method or for joining up the blocks. Well, that's a lot of work and not necessarily going to give me the result that I want. So I just thought, well, what the heck? Let's just quilt over top of it all. So I sandwiched it as you normally would on Lucey, and I used a very simple design. I just used a big wide curve, and it's difficult to see it, and it's supposed to be difficult to see it because I used a really light thread. I didn't want anything that was going to compete with the quilting that's already there. And if you look here in the white part of these pumpkins, of these blocks, you see the curves? You can see the quilting in that. But I don't think it takes away from the quilting the machine did, which was more intense. And it gives the whole quilt some texture with it. And Lucey was very, very cooperative. So it was a bit of an experiment. I wasn't really sure how this would work, but it quilted beautifully over top of the appliques. So, and it was just an edge-to-edge design. So I'm really quite happy with it. What do you think?
Yes, it looks very nice.
Oh, good. High praise. Okay, let's move on, shall we?
I don't see any mistakes.
Well, that's good because there aren't any. Now, there's my little beaver, my Canadian beaver. This is an In the Hoop project as well. I found it on Wednesday. Actually, I got an email from, this is Creative Kiwi. They're in New Zealand. And I've done many of their projects before, and they especially like doing these things. And the beauty of these, this is fairly big. It's about 15, 16 inches in height. Well, you can't do it all in the hoop. It has to be done in pieces. In fact, in this case, there's 4 pieces. The tail, the bottom half of the body, the top half of the body, and the head are 4 different hoopings. And you actually sew them together in the hoop. The machine will stop. There's instructions that come with it. And you line up the piece along where they've left a part that doesn't have satin stitching in it. And then it zigzags the join across. You got to be, it's a little tricky, but I've done it enough times I pretty much know what I'm doing. But if you don't get it lined up properly, it's easy to tear it out because it's just a zigzag across. You just take your seam ripper off and then you realign it. But you also use tape to hold it in place. And we're going to talk about a tape that I used for the very first time that I've had for a while that I'm absolutely loving. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And away you go. And then I put a little loop thing in it so I can hang it from one of my cupboard doors here. They recommend that. You don't have to have that, but if you want to hang it up, it's probably the most convenient way to do it. So yeah, total thing is done in the hoop. No domestic machine is needed for it. And there is some quilting in it. You do put batting under each of the pieces. I use Battleizer, as you know. I've talked about Battleizer before, which is a very low loft and a little bit denser than regular batting, but it works really well because it'll lay flat. Like if you table runners, it's great for table runners and placemats. If you want them to lay flat but still have some substance to them. And there is a back on this, and they gave you two methods for doing the backing. One was just use one piece of fabric on each one the same color, or you could actually make it reversible. And they have that all in their instructions for it. I don't usually make them reversible because I know they're going to hang up. No one's going to see the back of them. So I just use the one piece of fabric. So yeah, but there is quilting, as I said, in his tummy, but it's very light. And I think that's the only part that had some quilting was in his tummy a little bit. And it was just a simple design that the machine did. So I was very happy with my beaver. And the question comes is this shaved beaver? Yes, because
it's not furry.
I could have used fur with it. They had instructions for using fake fur on it, but you need to put a topper on it. And I don't like working with that topper stuff because it never seems to come out completely. It's a pain in the butt. So no. And the stabilizer that's in it is water soluble. So when you've got, so there are pieces that will hang out from it when you're finished with it. All you do is dunk it into a sink of water, or they even say if you want to throw in your washing machine, it's not a problem. I don't, because I have done that in the past, and yeah, they come out okay, but you do have to do some pressing. So what I do is I just submerge it in the bathroom sink, and you swish it around for about a minute. It all comes out. And I like to leave some of it in. It all dissolves because when it dries, it makes it a little bit stiffer. But the more you rinse it, the more of that comes out and the softer it's going to be. But because this is going to be like a door decor kind of a thing, I like it to be a little bit stiff. And I just lay it flat on my pressing mat and it'll dry. It'll be totally dry by tomorrow, if not sooner. And I might give it a hit with the iron just a little bit when it's first laying there to make sure it's still laying flat. But this little guy, he's laying flat, pretty good flat, because what you're seeing right now in this picture is actually him right after I dissolved the stabilizer. He's still drying as we speak, because I just finished him an hour before we went to record this. Okay, so what have you been working on?
Nothing much right
How
now.
are you coming with my damaged shirt?
I just have to do a couple of things to it.
Oh, didn't you make another mistake on it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
anyway, so yeah,
it figures. That fabric I really, really, really like that shirt.
I can buy some more of it. Order some more from the lady that sold it. She still has some. Yeah, and then I'll make a new one.
Well, in some ways, it's probably easier than what you're doing with it right now.
Know. Jeez.
So yeah. Well, lesson learned. Make sure your seams are sewn together properly.
Yeah, I shouldn't have graded those seams.
No.
Brendan told Brendan, who the guy that taught us, always graded his seams, and I was doing it because otherwise you get a bulky seam if you use 3 layers. But I think I might just put up with the bulky seam next time.
Well, I don't know.
Because this fabric seems to fray more for some reason.
Oh, well, some fabrics do. I've never figured that out because when I'm doing bindings too, sometimes I get all kinds of fraying. Now, you're supposed to cut it parallel to the grain, I think, to avoid the fray, or is it against the grain? I never remember. One way you cut it, it'll fray less. But, you know, I don't bother to get too uptight with that. Okay, so that's your problem. What else did you do with yourself this week?
I don't know. I've got a few things that I have to, my finances and stuff like that.
Oh, day trader. He was looking at my finances last night, or talking about it. Yeah. Not only is he my travel agent, but he's also my financial advisor. Yes, all in one package, and he cooks. Look, girls, what a catch. Oh, there's one problem. You'd be girls. Guys, what a catch. He's mine. I've put up with him for that long. I'm not giving it up now. Okay, tips of the week. Never done one of these before, but I had to share these two really cool ideas. So let me get a picture up here. Here we go. So you're wondering, so what the hell is that? Yes, it is a coat hanger. I bought, I think I have 12 of those felt bags that I'm putting under, I'm doing the embroidery on and everything that came from the dollar store. We talked about those last week. Um, but I need some place to store them. And space around here is kind of limited. Um, so I got, well, I can hang them up in the Lucey room, in the rafters. So I went to my 3D printer and I tried to make hooks for this. But every design that I found were not deep enough. Like there wasn't enough of a hook. If I want to hang one bag, yeah, but I didn't want 12 hooks. These bags around. And then I happened to be watching some shorts on YouTube, as I often do, because most times it's about kitties or pimple popping, and both are kind of amusing to me. Don't ask and don't judge. And I came across this one where they were showing how to make this hanger. And all you do is take a wire hanger, grab it by the wings, fold it in, straighten up the hook at the top, and presto bingo. You've got a really substantial hook that holds a lot. They were showing it for hanging up purses. And I thought, this is brilliant. And it is. It works really well. So now I have 2 of these hooks, and each hook is holding 6 of those bags. And it works dandy. Who would have thought? So that's my tip this week. Don't you think it's clever?
Yes, it is.
I thought so. Yes, I agree. Hello. And the other thing is another dollar store thing. Okay. Most dollar stores have a medical section, where the bandages are and everything like this. Well, ours, Dollarama, you've heard me talk about Dollarama before. Sorry, Americans, you guys don't have a Dollarama, but you can probably get this stuff in your Dollar Generals or whatever you have there. It's just, it's clear tape. It's
you actually saw it in the drugstore too, right?
Yes, the drugstore sells it too.
Except
for a lot
it was
more money, like 4 times the price. This was $1.50 at our Dollarama for a roll. This is when I was talking about doing the beaver and taping the pieces down so that you can get them in alignment, and then when the needle comes across and it sews the zigzag, it's in the right place, because you don't really want to be trying to hold it down with your hand. If your hand slips and it goes under the needle, well, yeah, that's disaster. But you can buy embroidery tape. It's like $16, $18 for a roll, and it's crap. It doesn't hold anything. It peels off more than it sticks to it. It's just not sticky enough. Some people swear by painter's tape. Well, I don't know. The painter's tape that I have is about the same as the embroidery tape. It doesn't hold very well either. Masking tape. Well, the problem with masking tape is you might get a masking tape that'll hold, but when you pull it off, it may leave a sticky residue on whatever you are creating, and you don't really want that. I heard about this. Was it one of the ladies at Ultimate Sewing?
Ellie, the lady that does a lot of embroidery. She suggested you buy this tape.
Yeah. So I was skeptical. But I went in and I bought a package of it, and and that was quite a while ago, but I haven't had any need to use it until just recently with the beaver one. So I tried it out. Best damn stuff I've ever used when it comes to an embroidery tool. This is great. It sticks well, it holds, and it peels off cleanly. It's not hard to use. It's even got a little bit of stretch to it. And it's $1.50 for a package, and you don't need a lot. So we went to the dollar store yesterday and bought about 8 more packages, because sometimes, in the dollar stores, if you don't hit when something's there hot, it may not be there the next time you really want it.
I do think this is a fairly big staple of Dollarama.
Yeah, I mean, if worst case scenario, you can get the same kind of stuff for more money at one of your local drugstores, or maybe even in Walmart in the medical section.
At least even if you had to pay more for it in the drugstore, it's still cheaper.
Than the stuff in
embroidery tape.
Embroidery tape, yeah. So I highly recommend this. Now this one's called Medicare, but it probably has lots of other names for it too. So you don't necessarily need this particular brand, but just this clear tape, transparent, and it's meant for.
It's probably meant for holding on those
tensor
patches,
bandages.
those tensor bandages, or You know, if you've got a big wound, a gauze
Oh,
pad or
yeah, yeah.
something.
Something like that. So, excellent tool. If you do a lot of in the hoop machine embroidery, I highly recommend you get yourself some of this stuff. It works well. Okay, so that was the tips of the week. Now let's talk about other things here. Sewing with Steven on Wednesdays as usual. 9 o'clock start, 4 o'clock finish, Eastern time. Be there, be square. Now you will find a link below, and you may have already seen it because I put it up on my episode of Idiot Quilter this week, and that's the interview I did with Clint Milner from the boy Stitcher, and great interview with him. He's a really interesting person. If you haven't seen the interview, you need to. Not hard on the eyes either. He is fairly new to quilting, but not new to fiber arts. He has been sewing since he was a little kid. He was talking about that he made, I don't know if that was actually on the interview, it may have been before the interview. But he made, when he was a teenager, he made dinner jackets.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he sort of looked at a pattern, but he didn't use the pattern. He reconstructed them himself. So very talented sewist. And he's also a cross stitcher. He's won awards for some of his cross stitches that he has put into like state fairs or whatever, and that kind of thing. So he's new, kind of recently new to quilting. So what does he start with? Foundation paper piecing on a very complicated pattern, and he's doing a brilliant job. He only has 2 videos up at the moment. He's doing them as a series as he works through this project. But if you have thought about doing foundation paper piecing, you need to watch his videos because he is a really good instructor. He is very clear. His videos are very professional, and he was complaining that he's had to get more new equipment and stuff because his lighting on his first video he didn't like. I don't think there was that much wrong with it for his first video because this is his first plunge into the world of YouTube creations. So yeah, if you missed the interview, there is a link in the show notes for this. You can check it out. Okay, fall retreat, people. I am in the process of planning it. I changed the date. A couple of my friends on here can't make it when on the first date that I selected. I'm not going to mention names, Russ and Mona. Yeah, you. I call you out. Yeah. I had already arranged one of my guest speakers is going to be Adam from Adam Sews. I'm sure you know him. If you don't, he's in Britain. You probably saw the video, one of our videos from when we went to the Birmingham Festival of Quilts. We spent some time with Adam there. But if you haven't gone to his YouTube channel, you need to. He does quilting, he does garment sewing, he does stuffed animals, he does all kinds of stuff. He's a brilliant sewist. And just go to YouTube and look for Adam Sews, SEWS. And you won't be disappointed. So he has graciously agreed to be one of my presenters, and that is great. But originally that was going to be for the 18th. That was fine, except he was double booked. And out of the kindness of his heart, he said he could still fit it in. He could do it. But you have to remember that England is 5 hours ahead of our time here in the eastern part of Canada. So, you know, it would have been 8 o'clock at night for him to come on at about 3 o'clock when he could, our time. So that was a problem, but he said that was going to work out okay. But then I got thinking about it. And I thought, well, I could do it the week after. There isn't anything that I've got on that I couldn't do that. And if that meant it would make things easier for Adam, then I was all for that. And then I heard like 2 people, Mona and Russ, who mentioned that they would not be able to attend if it was on that date. They better show up, or I will go to their houses.
Well, it worked out anyway. That wasn't that work out that it was a little better date for Adam as well.
Yes, and it did, because I proposed it to Adam. And he says, actually, that would be better. So, great. That works out. So then I needed another presenter. I tried a couple of people, but they were busy or couldn't do it or whatever, tied up. But I have two more presenters, a team, you might say, of presenters with the new two. And I am very happy to announce that this was finalized this morning. I have Becca from So Becca, and I have Ian from the Off Kilter Quilter, and they'll be operating as a team. I don't know what they're going to be presenting yet because we haven't worked out the details, but that's okay. We will. But I didn't think when I sent the email, I just sent it this morning to Becca. And I really thought, because I know Becca and Ian both are extremely busy content creators. And I wouldn't have been surprised if, well, thanks very much, but we can't do it. And so then I was saying, who else can I get? But no, I did get the email, and it started off, oh, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm waiting, but yeah, and really excited to do this. Okay, you're on. So I think it's going to be really good on the retreat. I know it is, with Becca and with Ian, and then Adam too, the dynamic trio. Really, this is going to make a great retreat. Well, all the retreats are great, but this is going to be really
Extra
nice.
great.
Yeah, I was really excited to get all three of those because I didn't think I would, but I did. So the retreat date is October the 25th. That's a Saturday. There will be details about how you sign up for it. It is free for anybody that's never been to one of my virtual retreats. It is virtual. It's done by Zoom. But you have to register for it, and there will be details about how you do it. It is absolutely free, though. The reason I have you register is because my license only allows me 100 people, actually a little bit less, because I'm gonna frog, because I need a few spots for Walter and I, because it becomes
and
Computer
your
Central
presenters
and my
right?
presenters and that kind of thing. But all the details will be coming out about the tail end of September, the first few days of October. I usually make a video about it. I also send out to anybody that's on my mailing list the same thing that's in the video, and it'll explain everything and how you go about it. It's not very difficult, okay? But you can't register yet. So, and I know there'll be some eager beavers out there who, after they see this, are going to send me an email and go, oh, please register me for the retreat. And then I'm going to have to hurt them. I'll have to say no. Computer says no. Because, no. Can't register until I open up registration. That's really just a logistic thing. So, and I usually have a waiting list too. So when that all happens, then's the time to hit that button and get here. So, yeah. So, did I tell you how excited I am that I was able to get Becca and Ian and Adam? I mean, this will be good. Really good. And also in my retreats, there are prizes. Just to add a little bit of sugar on top of everything, there are prizes at the retreat. So, yeah, October 25th. You will be hearing me mention that a lot for the next 2 months. Okay. Tomorrow morning on Sean's live, The Guy Who Sews, I am his guest tomorrow. I don't know what we will talk about, but I'm sure we will find something. Usually do on there. So that's tomorrow, and there is a link to the live. It's a YouTube live. There's a link in the show notes for that, but you can also go just to Sean's YouTube channel and look under the live tab, and you'll find it there. He's got the splash screen up already for it. Okay, so ready for a fabric haul, because I do have one. Mona, yes, the same Mona that I changed the date for. Did I mention that I had done that? Yes, for Mona. She was on a little road trip the last week and a half or so up to Calgary. She lives in Arizona. She was driving her truck and her dog all the way up to some place north of Calgary to, I think, visit a friend, and she does geocaching. But on the way, she stopped at a quilt store that's in that area called Along Came Quilting. Now, I have heard of this store before. I think many, many moons ago, I reviewed it. Um, and I did order some things from them a year ago. I looked at my past history of orders. I don't remember what I ordered. But anyways, while she was in the store and she had her camera on, she was showing all the things she was looking at. And they have a good collection of indigenous fabrics. And I love indigenous fabrics. And they're not that easy to get. But there was a couple of panels she focused on. I am not a panel person, generally speaking. But these two panels I really, really liked. So later in the day, I went on to Along Came Quilting and I ordered the panels, and then I ordered the fabric to go with them. And there was another panel called Abra Cat Dabra, and it's a Halloween one with a cat wearing a wizard's hat and this kind of thing. It's really cute. I did order it, but they sent me an email and said, yeah, they'd sold the last one. And I've looked high and low for Canadian. I don't buy American fabric, I'm sorry, anymore. You know why. And I cannot find it. Or if I found it anywhere, it was sold out.
You mean a Canadian supplier?
Canadian supplier, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can't avoid, well, all the fabric comes from China, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, but I did also order some matching fabric to go with it, and I kept that because I like it. It's pretty. So I thought I'd show you what I got. I also got something else too. So I'm just going to throw it up here. So here's the first panel that I fell in love with. I think it's called Inspired Dancers. And it's got the stylized version of the Northern Lights in the background, and plus it's the blues. The blue always attracts me. I love blue. And this, so I got that. I also got this one. I really liked the bear in this, but if you notice, and I didn't notice this when I first ordered it until I got it.
How could you not notice it? Anyway, so go ahead.
Because it wasn't in upright center when you're looking at the whole thing, whatever. If I hadn't pointed it out to you, you wouldn't have noticed it.
I noticed it right away.
Sure you did. Yeah, that's what you tell yourself.
Go ahead.
Yeah, whatever. They have a red handprint over the face that has no features. And this, I believe, has been created. The artist was trying to depict the lost indigenous females. We have a problem in Canada. There's a lot of our indigenous women have been abducted, and they're basically, well, they're either killed or put into this sex trafficking kind of a thing. And I think that's what this is depicting, and it's the bear. Symbolizes, bear is a spirit animal for certain tribes of indigenous people, and like protecting her and warding off the evil that's being directed towards her. So it sort of tells a story. I'm sure there is more here because I'm looking at the tree right now with the roots exposed, and the red shirt and dress. I think they use red. You know how you use pink for breast cancer and things like that in the different colors? I think red is the color that they use for this situation as well. Now, I don't know a lot about it. I need to do more reading in the background, but I just thought, I didn't realize that that's what this was all about until after I got it home and started studying it a little bit more. But I really like that. And then I bought some of the fabric that can go with it. Now, this fabric is probably more appropriate, although it worked with both, with the first panel. I bought 2 meters of that. In this one, I thought, ooh, it almost looks like stained glass. I think they are stylized Thunderbirds that are the heads that are in it. But I really liked it. I mean, you can do a lot with this because of it's got all the colors. And this one is like, wow. Definitely screams indigenous. Well, it is. It's designed by an indigenous artist. And I love it. Now, this is totally different. This is not indigenous. Mona bought some of this as well. And if you look at it, it actually kind of pops out at you. And it's a gradient if you unroll the whole thing. But I don't have any plans for it right now, but I thought it was really
It's also a
interesting.
batik, isn't it?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a batik as well. The other fabrics are not batiks, but this one is. And this is the one. Now, I couldn't get the Abracadabra panel, as I said, but I bought this to go with it. And I kept this. I didn't, because I like it. And it doesn't immediately scream out necessarily Halloween, especially when you start cutting it up. So you could use it in other projects as well. I think I could almost get away with possibly even using it with the indigenous stuff too, because especially that one with the tree and it had the roots, this is kind of reminiscent of that. Yeah, so that's what I bought. I bought 2 meters of everything except the panels, of course. And their prices are very good. As far as Canadian, because most of their stuff was under $20 a meter. And right now in Canada, fabric, that's a good price because more and more places it's $21, $22, $23 a meter. So fabric's not cheap. And their delivery, their shipping was pretty good. It was flat rate. But if you bought over $225 worth, which I did, it was free anywhere in Canada. And they offer a good deal for Americans as well on shipping. And I mean, right now, the American dollar being a lot stronger than the Canadian rented lips. Well, thank you for correcting me.
Container.
Yeah. No, I said Canadian.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, whatever. It's good value. It's a good deal. And as far as I know, there is no tariff on this yet. So, yeah. So that's a good thing. Okay. So, Lucey time. So that first quilt I showed you, the Halloween quilt, I take you through my process for quilting that. I don't spend a lot of time showing the machine actually running because that gets boring after a while staring at it. But I tried to show you what I was doing. I did have a couple of problems. I had a couple of thread breaks, but they were minor and I didn't have any problem recovering from those, which was good. Lucey was having a good day because we don't always have a good day with Lucey. So that day was good and I'm glad it's done. And I'm going to put that video in here. So before it starts, grab yourself a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or whatever. And because this runs about 38 minutes long on here. But I thought you might be interested in seeing. And Walter's getting warmed up. He's getting more serious now about getting on Lucey. And I'll be sure to bring you video of that. Okay, here's the video. So today I'm going to quilt this puppy. And this is going to be a bit weird because this was the quilting in the hoop blocks that I did with the embroidery machine, and so there's applique on this, but also each one of those blocks, the purple ones and the green ones, have some quilting in them already. On the purple you can't see it as well, but on the green, let's just see if we can focus in on that, on the green, you can see it. My intent is to not do custom quilting, although I could try, in the borders, but no, I'm going to do an edge-to-edge design. Initially when I made this, I was thinking I would put battleizer, another layer of battleizer and some backing fabric on it, and I'd do it on my domestic machine. Well, it's a little bigger than I thought it was going to be, and I don't want to tackle that. I mean, I don't have to do any quilting at all in the borders, but I think it would look funny without it. I'm going to pick a really light colored thread, I think, and do a very, very simple design, more or less to keep the layers together. Now, this is not a quilt that's cuddly. This, because that embroidery makes those blocks kind of stiff. It's going to be more or less a display piece or home decor. I'm thinking, you know, I throw it over the side or back of a chair kind of a thing, or couch, during the month of October on display. So I'm not that concerned about the edge-to-edge quilting making this look like a tangled mess of thread on top of what's already quilted on there. In fact, what's already quilted on there to me looks more like it was actually something built into the fabric. That's what I'm thinking now. So this is going to be as an experiment, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. So I need to pick out some backing fabric from this, and I don't have anything that is Halloween, but I've had this one for quite a while, and it is a dark, it's not showing up on the camera very well, color. It's a little darker than what you're seeing here right now, but it's kind of a dark gray black with these swirls, and I think that'll work fine on the back of this particular quilt. I really don't want to go out and spend a lot of money on something that's more like Halloween, and my chances of finding a 108-inch or a wide back fabric for this in a Halloween theme are kind of slim. So I think I'll use just what I have. This will be fine. And yeah, so the next thing I need to do is figure out whether I have a piece of batting that's a scrap that's big enough for this. The quilt top is 51 by 51. So basically I need a piece, I need to go about 60 inches across with batting and the backing. So I'm probably going to have to take it from the roll because I don't think I have anything that big. But I will check my supply and see. And my supply is down here. These are all my scraps of batting, but I write on the label how big the pieces are. And I'm looking down this list, and what I'd say about 60 by 60, or 60 wide, but yeah, I need it at least 60 inches long too. So nothing really there in that one. This one, let's pull this out here. Let's see what we have. We have anything? Not really. And let's take a look at this one. Where's the label? I'm struggling here underneath Lucey to look at this. So I'm saying it's about 60 by 60. Not really. So I'm going to have to take batting from the roll. Okay. So I've got my backing fabric nice right side down, laid out on the rollers of Lucey, and now I'm going to, this is way too much. I've measured off about 61 inches. That's about 10 inches more than I need. And I've put a little slit here, and I'm going to do something, and don't blame me for it, I'm just going to rip. And it should come out pretty straight. Because my selvage is at the top. So there, we've got that ripped. Now, let's just take this excess and put it over here somewhere. Yeah, don't have a lot of room in this room anymore. So I'm going to just pull this down a little bit, as you can see. And now, got a little thread there, get rid of that. Now I'm going to mount it. And the way I'm going to do that is, I'm just going to pull it under this top bar. Just get it laid here. This is the part I hate. I hate trying to get it all layered out. I'm just going to move this up so I can get at my snappers. Now I have built in plastic rods into this leader. And all I do is line up the selvage on the bottom of this backing. And I'm going to clamp it down with the other half of the red snappers. This is what they look like. Now, some people do not like using the red snappers. If you've got arthritis in your hands, I can see that that's a problem. Because, yeah, it takes a little bit of pressure to get these to clamp, but I like them. And I've been using them almost since day one. Some people just would rather pin their quilt to the leader. I don't like that. I avoid pins like the plague if I can on most things about quilting. I like clips and I like these things. So make sure I am secure. And now I'm just going to release the tension here, and I'm just going to roll this onto the bar. Now I'm keeping in mind, watching my edges to make sure it doesn't go screwy, which means a lot of adjusting and smoothing out any wrinkly parts. And so you get the idea. Don't need to watch this whole process. I'll come back when I attach it to the top leader. Okay, so I've got it on the bottom roller. Now I want to attach it to the top leader on the top roller. So I've just flipped it over, and it's the same procedure. Basically, I'm lining up the selvage along that red snapper bar, and I'm going to take my red snappers and press them on, making sure I don't get any wrinkles or anything. And one more snapper. Okay, I'm all secure. So I'm just going to drop this one. And I have an electric winder, so I am just going to wind the quilt up. Ooh, I made a mistake. Oh, I do this all the time. This piece has to go under that bar at the front. So that means I'm going to have to take this off and do this all again. Okay, that's going to have to drop off. See, I need to bring, let's just wind it. And that's not what I want to do. I want to go this way. Nope, the other way. Okay, so this has to come up over that bar at the bottom. And then, if I can reach it, awkward. Okay. Oh boy, yeah. You know, people who do this for a living, as far as like quilting for other people, they're doing this on a daily basis. They just whip it right up here and they have it on. Since I don't use Lucey every day, I have to think about what I'm doing. Now I need to wind this. Slide it up here on the top so I can have some leverage. Line up that selvage again along the bar. Want it as straight as I can possibly get it. Put it on the red snappers. You know the number of times that I do this, it doesn't matter. It's almost like the first time again for me. Just saying. Okay, now we can drop it. And now we can wind it in position. Okay, that looks good. Now we'll put a little tension on it. Now this is weird. This part's a little floppy. Why is that? That seems a little floppy to me, but let's see. This side's nice and taut. This side is not. Is it coming out of the... No. Well, it's okay, because I've got my straps on the side, but that's just weird. I'm not really understanding, or it's just my imagination. I don't know. It could be my imagination as well. Okay, the next thing I have to do is cut batting, the right size for this. I hate cutting the batting. And get that on, and then float. I'm going to float the batting on top of this, and I'm going to float the quilt top on top of the batting. So I'll be back. Okay, so my batting is floating on top of my backing, and my quilt top is floating on top of my batting. Now what I have to do is roll it towards me and push it under this bar. And my back's going to be in your way here for just a minute. So I'm just rolling it up on here and stuffing it under the bar here, and then I'm going to unroll it all, put my batting back up nice and flat, and my quilt top, I'm just going to straighten it out. Now I'm going to stitch a line across the top of this batting, so I'm just going to pull the top back, and this is going to serve as a guideline. Now, I've already picked my thread colors for this. I picked a light sand color. It's sort of got a yellowy beigey tinge to it, and I think that will be fine because there's a lot of different colors going on here. And as I said earlier, I really don't want the quilting to show up. The quilting's being used more or less to keep all my layers together and give a little texture. So I'm hoping that will do the trick. In the bobbin thread, I've put a dark charcoal gray because the backing is a charcoal gray, and again, it'll give it texture. It won't show up all that much. And also that backing piece, the fabric, if you remember, is a little bit busy. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my needle where I want it. And I'm down about, my problem is what I often do is I have been putting my quilt too close to the top, and then I have a problem with it when it rolls up and goes underneath the throat. So I'm making sure that I'm going to start this line about 8 inches down from the top. That's probably overkill, and it means I'll have to make more passes to finish the quilt, but that's okay. I'd rather do that than end up with it hitting the bar and bouncing my needle out of alignment. So I've set my channel locks so that I can do a horizontal line, a straight line, and all I'm going to do is drop my needle, pull up my bottom thread, and just drag it across to the other side, and that will give me a guideline that I can put this quilt up against. Okay, so I've basted my quilt now. I lined up the top edge of the quilt top to the line that I had sewn across here, and I've gone down each side as well. So the quilt is now secure. I now need to set up the quilt path, my computerized program, to do its quilting. But the first thing it wants me to do is to mark where the top left corner is and the bottom right corner, because those are called the safe areas. So that's what I'm going to do, and all I have to do is basically put my needle up, and I'm putting it just maybe an inch above the top of the quilt and about an inch from the left hand side, and I'm going to hit top left. And I know you can't see this because I'm doing it off screen, sort of. It's very awkward to recorded here, and I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom right, about an inch over from the left hand side. Bottom right. Now it wants me to also put in the width of the quilt and the length of the quilt. So we'll do the width first. There's a little ruler symbol up here on the screen, which I know you cannot see. And you probably still can't see, but it's up here. There's a little ruler, so I just move this over and I go to the edge of the quilt. And I hit the marking button for that. Then I move it all the way across to the right edge, put my needle right to the right edge and hit that, and then tell it to apply the measurement. And it's saying that the quilt is 50.969 inches wide, which is pretty good. I estimated it about 51, so that's pretty close. Now I need to put the total height. Because this is a square, I'm going to, now I could put in 51, but I want a little extra space, so I'm going to put 52. And these are inches. And click OK. So now I have established my safe area, and I need to pick my pattern. So I am going to do that, and I'll tell you about that after I come back. Okay, so I have my safe zone already set up and marked. I've picked my pattern, and what I picked was a very simple, just wavy line with about 1/4 inch spacing between the two. As I said before, my idea here for quilting this quilt, because of the applique and the embroidery on it, I just want something very simple and something that's going to hold the layers together. That's my theory. Okay, so I've already set up the machine for this. I've marked my starting and finishing points on it and all that, and I'm not going to show you that because that's all a bunch of technical stuff. And what I'm going to do first, and I do this with every one of my quilts, is I have a mode on here called trace. And what that is, it leaves the needle up, but it goes through the motions of doing the quilting. And it gives me a sense of the spacing between my lines and from one end to the other. So I'm just going to start this. And I don't know how fast this is going to be, but when I get this started on the trace, it's going to move the needle to the starting position. And that looks good. That's where I want to start. And then I just follow it around. And yes, the design is going to go off the top of the quilt a little bit and off the sides, because those are areas that I want to make sure they fall underneath the binding when I bind this quilt. So we're moving along quite quickly because this is a very simple design. And we'll see where it ends up here, and hopefully where I want it to. Yes, that's good. Now it's coming down and starting again. And this design is one I've actually never used before, even though it's a simple one. And I see that it's coming down, but it's going back up to the top and doing a straight line across, and that's okay. But I want to see what's going to happen when it gets over to this side and starts again. That will determine for me whether or not I need to widen the spacing between the lines, or if this is fine. As I said, I set it to 2 1/4 or 1/4 inch. Okay, it's coming down. It's interesting how this pattern goes. I don't usually do it across this many times, but for this one, I'm still trying to determine whether or not this is going to be exactly the way I want it. So just bear with me as this goes across. I like to do this. It's a safeguard, just to make sure everything is going to be placed where I want it to be placed. Okay, this next line should determine for me whether or not I'm happy with the width. It is hard to see it when you don't have like thread going in. But I think it'll be okay. I think it's going to be okay. So I'm going to stop this just as soon as it comes over here to the end. Okay, I've stopped the tracing. Now I want to show you something. I don't know if you can see it, but there's these white little rings. And what you do with them, they have a ridge on them, as you can see here. And they go on this bar, and you line up one of your straight lines, one of your borders. Now, this is important because as you move your advance your quilt. Those are the words I want. Words are failing me. Your quilt can go a little off. And so putting these at those spots as a marker, you know you can, by pulling a little bit lightly on the quilt now, you can keep everything reasonably straight with it. So I've got one here, I've got one down here. Just looking at it. Yeah, that should be good. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to let it quilt. Yeah, fingers crossed on this. So the first thing I need to do is pull the bobbin thread. Now there is a setting on here, and I'm just going to get rid of these extra loose threads I have on here. On the floor they go. I just don't want them in my way. My needle's threaded, my bobbin is in. I am going to say pull bobbin. So it's going to move to the spot where we'll do that. And it's going to drop my needle down. And I'm just going to hang on to my tail. So it's going to drop it. And it's going to bring it back up. And then I should be able to slip the top thread through here and pick up the bobbin thread. And I have. So now's the do or never. I'm going to tell it to sew. So I'm checking my stitches and they look pretty good tension wise. I didn't do anything to adjust the tension from the last time I did a quilt on here because it was fine, and I'm using basically the same weight of fabric, the same weight of batting and backing, so there shouldn't be a problem. And I'm looking at the color of the thread, and right now I think that's a good choice. I'll give you a little closer up view of this. Okay, so I had a little problem. I had a thread break a couple of times, and so I had the feeling that my needle wasn't quite lined up. They're very sensitive, and I just put a brand new needle in this machine yesterday. So it seems to be okay now across this row. But here you can see the design, and you notice it's very, very light. And so let's keep our fingers crossed that Lucy is cooperating with us today. Okay, Lucy has finished her first row, and I know it's very difficult to see, and that is perfectly all right with me. That was what I was going for. So it's going to give texture, but not necessarily going to overshadow the quilting that was done by the embroidery machine already. Now you will see it when it hits these white stars, but that is okay. I think that'll be fine. So it's come to its first zone, and this is what the pattern looks like on the computer screen. Now I have to advance it. So I'm not going to explain how the advancing business works because I'm liable to get lost in it. I'll come back once I have it advanced. So now the computer had asked me to mark a point A and a point B, which is where these will be used as guides for moving the quilt forward. And you use a piece of painter's tape or masking tape, and it punches a little hole in it on this end, and then it goes over to the far side of the quilt and does the same thing. And now what it's asking me to do is to move the fabric so that marker 2A is beneath the sewing machine needle. And it says this does not have to be precise, but you want it as close as you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to advance the quilt so that this needle is right over top of this little hole, and then we go from there. So I've moved my marker underneath my needle over here, and what the machine wants me to do now is to set the placement. And I'm going to set it according to 2 points, A, and then there'll be a B on the far side. So for A, we leave it exactly where it is right now, and we just hit A. And you'll notice things moved a little bit, and now, but it's a little bit crooked. So now we've got to move our carriage, the needle, all the way over to the other mark, and I'm going to line that over top of the hole that was there, and I'm going to hit B. Now, it says that I've gone out of the safe zone, and this happens because the quilt probably isn't on here absolutely straight, and this is very sensitive. So all I need to do is, because it's going off up here at the top where the red line is, I just need to pull my needle just down a little bit from me and hit B again. And there, we're okay. We're all lined up. In fact, I think I could come down just a little further and hit that again. And that makes it a little straighter up at the top. Not absolutely dead on perfect, but it's close enough, as they say. So now I can go ahead and baste the sides of the quilt down here that haven't been basted. So that means just pulling my needle down here, pulling up my thread, stitching down here, pulling up my thread, cutting it, going to the other side, doing the same thing, and then we can start the process of quilting the next zone. So I've basted down the sides of my quilt on both sides, and then I'm ready to sew. So I told the machine to pull up the bobbin thread, so it went to the starting position for this part of the pattern. And yes, it's not on the same spot as up here because that's too high up. That's just for spacings. This is where it's going to start. So I have pulled up the bobbin thread already, and now I'm ready to sew. And cross your fingers. So I have advanced the quilt to the next spot, and I'm going to let it do its sewing over here, and then I'll do the same procedure until we get to the end of the quilt. Okay, so I'm on the very last row here, and you'll notice that when you get down here, you have to baste along here as well, as long as there's room. If there isn't room, you need to pin until you get the right positioning, and that just keeps the needle, if it comes off of here, from going underneath your quilt. So I'm not sure if I'm going to have to do another zone or a partial zone on here, because this is the second row of our pattern, printing out or stitching out right now. So we'll see. I'm hoping I don't, but we'll see here. See how far down it comes. No, I think I'm going to have to do one more because that's just a little too far from the edge of the border. Yep, so we'll have to do one more single roll. So the Halloween mini quilt is quilted, and Lucy cooperated very nicely today. We didn't have words, and that's always makes me happy when Lucy cooperates and I don't screw up. I had a couple of moments where I broke thread, but easy to fix. And yeah, so now what I have to do is, of course, I've got to cut all of this off. And I like to do it when it's on the frame of the long arm. For this, it just makes it easier. And I cut close to the outside edge. And then I'll take it and I'll square up the quilt, make some binding, and bind it, and then it's done. Okay, so I hope you like that. And if you have any questions about it, just put it in the comments below. We are looking for ideas, as we always are, for So Chatty. It's becoming a broken record. It sounds like every week I ask this, but we're serious. We need some ideas for So Chatty. It doesn't matter if you think it's stupid. Send it to us anyways. There may be a spark of an idea in there that we could work with, but we can't work in a vacuum. So anything, just send it our way, either in the comments section below or send it directly to me via email. Much appreciated. Okay. Anything you want to add?
No.
Okay, well, you didn't get to talk much today, did
That's
you?
okay.
You're just there for eye
I'm just
candy
eye
anyways.
candy, yeah.
You're just the eye candy, yeah.
I'm just trying to correct your speech about containers and stuff like that.
Well, thank you for doing that. I don't know what I'd do without you. I'd like to try. Okay, on that note, we'll see you. Bye for now.
Bye.